started into our special council meeting, August 18th, 2015. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. I'll ask Mrs. Andrews to take a roll call.
Mr. Meyer.
Here.
Mr. Burke.
Here.
Mr. Dunhoff.
Here.
Ms. Skidmore.
Here.
Ms. Sudkamp.
Here.
Ms. Pitts.
Here.
Ms. Kyle.
Here.
Ms. Cahill. Here. Mr. Cahill.
Here.
Mr. Skidmore.
Here.
Mr. Blankenship.
Here.
Mr. Howard.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. According to the agenda, we go right into legislation, but we do have a handful of citizens that have asked to speak, to address council this evening. Can I get council's approval to go ahead and take citizens' address?
Sure.
Moved, second. All right. All right, so the first person we have on the list is Janet Chambers.
Thank you, Mayor Hermes, and thank you, City Council, for your service to Erlanger. You can all take a deep breath. I'm not going to attack you, Mr. Hermes, and I'm not going to attack City Council.
Thank you.
I wasn't paid and I wasn't bribed. So honor me. Just humor me as I share with you my passion for the issue of the taxes that's been on the floor tonight. My husband, Mike, says, Janet, I'm right here. You don't have to yell. But he doesn't understand that I'm the baby of 5, and I always had to be louder than everyone else to be heard. So when I was in grade school, my father was elected the mayor of Crestview Hills. And from that day, we were increasingly proud to be immersed in politics, being aware, staying informed, respecting the system, equal rights, freedom of speech, and always letting your voice be heard, and always looking out for the best interest of others. We had some pretty engaging political discussions around the dinner table, Dad always explaining the importance of reviewing all options on the table, representing all walks of life in the city and all levels of income, because he explained everyone didn't grow up with the same opportunities and blessings. Crestview Hills had the reputation of the lowest taxes in northern Kentucky, and still now holds that position. Which brings me to the vote on the real estate and tangible taxes. Mike and I moved to Erlanger in 1997. We paid $2.33 per 1,000, or roughly around $460. We questioned and debated moving here because the taxes were the highest than all the surrounding cities in northern Kentucky. We had 4 children in school, and we were already on a really tight budget. Even with both of us working, $460 seemed like a lot of money. But we loved the area, the neighborhood, the house, so we purchased and we started our roots here. That was the start of a steady increase voted on by City Council every year for what was at least 12 of the 18 years we lived here. This all during the time that our house was declining in value, gas was going up. It was only $1.28 in 1997. And our incomes were stagnant due to the failing economy. According to citydata.com, the median household income in Erlanger right now is $57,000, much lower than some of our northern Kentucky surrounding cities. Still, Erlanger ranks number 2 in northern Kentucky with the highest taxes, almost double of some of the surrounding neighbors, such as Edgewood. Clearly, higher income neighborhoods in Erlanger are bringing up the average, which leads me to conclude that there are many families in Erlanger struggling to make ends meet on a lot less than $57,000 a year. The median value of real estate in Erlanger is $120,000. The real estate tax is currently $3.57 per thousand, excessively high in my opinion in comparison to the other cities in Kenton and Boone County. Add that to an increase in our tangible property tax like cars, which is currently $6 $4,000.09 per thousand. Now that median income family trying to make ends meet, already struggling, has to come up with additional money, and double that if you have 2 cars. So if taxes are raised based on Kenton County lunch prices of our children in school, $2, that money could buy over 100 breakfasts or lunches. Or with the ever-rising cost of gas, those same families could fill their car several times. For you personally, that may be acceptable, but not for that median income family of $57,000 or less. That could be the difference between eating and existing. The question is, can we really justify this and have it be in the best interest of residents, taxpayers, our children, and the community at large? I urge all of you to do some serious soul searching before considering a tax hike and suppressing our community further. Isn't it time that prospective home buyers searching out a new community like we did in 1997 to make roots in Erlanger have it be their first choice because of their lowest taxes and not the last choice because of our high taxes? Why stop at 10 cents? Start a new trend. Lower our city taxes and empower our residents to spend more money in Erlanger and not on the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. All right, the next person we have on the list is Mike Chisenhall.
Hi. I really don't have a lot to say. A lot of what I wanted to talk about has already been said between residents and city council so far. I would like, for the council to consider, at least keeping the tax rate the same or lowering it if possible. I'm glad to see that there's a surplus. A lot of times when a state or a city ends up with a surplus, the first thing they try to do is figure out how they can spend it. I mean, there was a few years ago, we had a governor who came up with a surplus in the state of Kentucky and said, how can we spend this money? And then the following year, the new governor said, we are almost exactly that much money in the hole. Now we got to cut, programs and education and everything else. So thank you for what you do. I think that the past few years have shown that somebody's been looking at the budget to end up with some money in the bank, and I appreciate it. So if we can cut them, I would love it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is Mr. James Brown.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, friends. I've been watching for the last 7 months since I've sadly been off council, and sometimes I'm happy and sometimes I'm sad about that. I miss working with you guys. I miss working to make the city of Erlanger better. I know how hard the budget process is. I served 4 years, and that was probably the hardest thing we did, was figure out the budget. And if we worked hard as council members, the department heads worked 10 times as hard. Greg worked 100 times as hard. And the information that he provided us and the information that we got provided by the department heads was absolutely top-notch. I know you guys, when I came on, 6 years ago when you did the payroll tax for the capital expenditures fund, I thought that was a mistake sitting out here. I thought, man, that's wrong. I said, we can't do that to our businesses. And I got on and I saw, well, while I may have disagreed with it, we don't have to worry budget in, budget out when we need a new fire truck. We don't have to worry budget in, budget out when 3 of our police cars need to be replaced 2 years before we thought they would because we had that fund. The other thing was, at times, it was always nice that we had a surplus and that we budgeted very conservatively so we missed in the right directions. It was nice to see the economy starting to pick up. It's nice to see it continuing to pick up. I haven't seen it yet, but you can see it in some of the numbers we get from the ad district, so I'll accept that. And it's good to see the businesses wanting to come to Erlanger and realizing what we have to offer as a city. that doesn't always show in the tax rate. But if you look at the services we provide, Chief Field said we had 13 outstanding employees. I could name 26 off the top of my head right now and make a case for all of them. Our police department is top notch. That was how we first got introduced to doing things with the city of Erlanger through the Block Watch program and through the Citizens Police Academy and then through the VIPS program. The amount of service that they provide and the quality of people they are is unbelievable. I know there was a mention of Edgewood and their taxes are being less than ours are. We have a unique problem that a lot of other cities have a different taxing instrument they don't have to worry about. Ellesmere doesn't have to worry about it, Edgewood doesn't. They have a fire protection district. Their fire department is completely separate from the city. The city of Erlanger has to pay for all of our fire department. There's not some separate taxing district, and I won't get into the politics of separate taxing districts or not, but it is certainly something we have to do. Having a fire department is expensive. Having a good one is really expensive. There was work done years ago to get our ISO rating really low. Now, as homeowners, that doesn't help us out a whole lot. I mean, that's less than pennies on the dollar. But for our business community, that is a tremendous boon for the amount of money they will save on their fire insurance. That does them so well and saves them so much money. But again, that's not something you can quickly and easily see on what the tax rate is. All of you know that I served on council. You know I voted against the tax rate increase a couple times. I voted for last year's. I was tremendously excited that we held the rate on homeowners. We didn't raise it, that we were able to take the compensating rate and lower the business taxes. I was so excited to see that. And we had worked hard to get to that point, and the fact that the economy met us in the middle, that was great too. So what I'm here to say is I'm tremendously excited that we have this opportunity. I appreciate all the hard work that was done by those that came before me and that those that have come after me in keeping our tax rate where it is, in keeping our budget so tight that we're able to look at this for the first time and really do this. And I appreciate all your hard work. Council, department heads, mayor, everyone. Everyone has worked hard on this, especially Greg. I mean, it's a tremendous task. It is the hardest thing we do as council, and it's the most important thing we do, frankly. And that money we use to pay for life safety, the police department, the fire department, and public works, because we have to get those police and firefighters where they need to go, whether it's a beautiful day like today or whether there's 7 or 8 inches of snow out there. They need to get there, and our public works does a great job of keeping our streets up, whether it's beautiful or whether it's horrible out. So I'm excited about the possibility of a tax decrease, and I would encourage you guys to look really hard at that. I know it's not easy. I know a couple years ago we desperately wanted additional firefighters, and we just didn't have the money to do it. I know we desperately wanted that, and it just wasn't there. And that's okay, and the fact that we have this opportunity now is great, so I encourage you guys to look really hard at that. Mayor, I want to address you directly. I had high hopes for you. I still do. I'm a little disappointed about the letter. I would hope in the future that you would communicate with council first and people outside of council second. They're there. The citizens put them there to be their eyes and ears, and the fact that they're getting these letters from other people is disappointing. So talk to them first. If you want to send a Tea Party letter or the Communist Party a letter, or whoever you want to send a letter, knock yourself out. But please talk to them first, because there's such a diverse group up here. There's Democrats, Republicans, populists, independents, Tea Partiers, conservatives, liberals, you name it. And all together, there's the 12 of them. They make one great mind that can do great things. So please, they want to work with you. They're desperate to work with you. Put them in the conversation first. Have your other conversations, but put them in the conversation first. Please, I implore you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
We miss you too, Jim. Yep.
Yeah, we do. Well said, buddy.
All right, next person on the list here is Ed Nordlow.
First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor and city council for allowing me to speak in front of you tonight. What I have here is a copy of the Northern Kentucky Community Profile. It lists the tax rates, etc., for all of Northern Kentucky. And I just wanted to point out to city council that out of 16 cities, Erlanger has the second highest real estate tax. Out of 36 cities in Northern Kentucky, Erlanger has the 5th highest real estate tax. And how did we get this far? Because we pass tax increases every year, instead of taking a stand and trying to hold hold still on expenses. Well, I'm just saying that raising taxes every year is not the answer. You're going to look at other ways to reduce costs, to balance the budget, or whatever it takes. I really changed what I was going to say tonight after the beginning of the meeting, what I considered to be outbursts and maybe some unfair things that were said. And then having lived in the city for 55 some years, I was a little embarrassed. And I'm sorry I had to come with that, and I don't know what else to say. I'm just going to sit down. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. All right, the next one on the list is Dan McElhaney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Appreciate the time to talk. My wife and I moved here in 2006, and basically every year I would get a notice from our bank and saying your escrow account is short. Being a young kid, I really didn't think too much about it. I just started to pay my mortgage, additional $10 or $15 a month every single year. Get the same notice. Escrow shortage, escrow shortage. Why am I having these escrow shortages? Taxes and insurance. As we've heard before us, stated with Kenton County and some of our neighboring cities here, the tax rates. So then I started to really pay attention and delve into this. And working in Florence, leaving the Kenton County aside, we've already heard about Edgewood and Taylor, or Edgewood and Crescent Springs and cities here in Kenton County, but I work in Florence, and I'd just like to talk about the rates in Florence. Real property is 2.46 in Florence, and the tangible is 3.68. Here in Erlanger, as we know, 3.57 on the real property, 6.09 on the tangible. Now, I've heard, I think I heard the councilwoman say that $10 isn't a big deal. You know, what's $10 on $1,000? Well, if it's $10 every month, it starts to really add up. And I've been consistently being hit with increases. And if I add up the rate from when I moved here in 2006, which I believe was 2.45, I couldn't really see in the back, to 3.57, that percentage is 60% of an increase in almost 9 years. And I think I heard the word abomination up here being tossed around. I think that's an abomination. So I'd like to praise the mayor and please ask the city council to lower these rates. Thank you very much.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor. I wanted to correct that. You said $10 on 1,000. That was $10 on 100,000.
I thought you said $10 on a
$10 on 100,000.
$10 is $10 though. You are blowing it off like it's not a big deal.
I'm just saying $10 on 100,000 is a lot different than $10 on 1,000. I'm not for raising taxes. I'd like to leave them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, that's all that we have on the list. Did anybody else want to speak?
Miss Missy keeps raising her hand.
I know I'm out of order, and I probably will regret this, or that I should keep my mouth shut. But I have to correct something. Mr. Nordlow said that we were very high on the tax rate out of all the cities in Kenton County. That's not correct. And I've done this numerous times over the years. If you add the other taxes that other cities have, Erlanger is just a little above mid-range. We are not at the top of the tax rate. And I know I've had this conversation with you before, and I've done the surveys and everything. So I don't want people to be, or have that misconception that our tax rate is that high. Ellesmere alone, when you add the Ellesmere Fire Protection District and the street tax and every other tax that those citizens pay, they're paying like $541. instead of 357. That's a lot higher than what our rate is. Well,
Yeah, I
that is
think
real estate.
that the point is, yeah.
It is, the fire protection district, you are taxed on your real estate. That is a real estate tax. It's just going to a different entity versus the city or the fire department.
Different cities have different ways of blending that
Taxing.
together. And with Erlanger, we pay for our police, our dispatch, our fire department, you know, all from our real estate tax. Whereas, like Independence, for example, they don't pay anything for the fire department out of their real estate tax. It's a completely separate tax for the tax district. And Ellesmere is the same way. They've got a tax district. So, you know, sometimes it is difficult to look at what the true, full, blended tax rate is from city to city. I've seen some very good lists out there that are very comprehensive. I've seen some other ones that, you know, they look at one part of the puzzle. But, yeah, so, thank you for bringing that up, Missy. Yeah.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah, that is. All right, so if there's no other comments, then we'll go ahead and move on to the legislation. We've got our first reading of the ordinance for the 2015-2016 tax rates. Frank's going to do it.
Need to determine what the rate's going to be first.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so can we get a motion and can we get a motion for what the tax rate will be going forward?
I'll make a motion that on the property tax is 3.47, right? And on the business is 5.99.
On the tangible,
On the
5.99? Okay,
I'm sorry, give me those numbers again, please.
3.47,
3.47.
per thousand.
reduction 5.99.
5.99.
Yes, sir.
347.
Yeah.
So it's 0.347 per 100 and 0.599 per 100.
It's per thousand.
That's 3.47 per 1,000.
Right, right. It's point
0.347
per 100.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was looking at what you wrote, not what you said. Sorry. All right, do we have a second? Second from Ms. Kyle. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Or do we vote? We're voting to set the rate.
First reading.
Right. Now we move to a first reading for the ordinance, for that rate. Yes.
You're voting on a number for the documentation.
All right.
All right, it's an ordinance of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, providing for the annual assessment of all real estate and personal property within the City of Erlanger, which is subject to taxation thereby for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2015, and ending on June 30th, 2016, providing for the payment and collection of such taxes and the penalties and interest thereon, and describing the purpose for which the taxes so collected shall be appropriated and used. By summary, the ordinance, first of all, adopts the assessment of the value of the real estate in the city by the Property Valuation Administrator of Kenton County. Next, it establishes the rates of taxation. The rate of taxation on real property is $0.347 for each $100 of the value thereof so assessed. The rate on personal property is $0.599 for each $100 of the value thereof as assessed pursuant to the terms and provisions of this ordinance. The ordinance next provides for a procedure for the collection of those taxes, provides for bills being sent out by the city clerk, indicating the date the taxes are due, the discounts for early payment, the penalties and interest for late payment, and the method and place of payment. Also provides that the taxes levied pursuant to the terms of this ordinance shall be due and payable on the first day of October of 2015 and may be paid online or in cash by credit card, check, or money order at or by mail to the office of the city clerk at 505 Commonwealth Avenue or the office of the BB&T Bank. The taxes levied pursuant to the terms of this ordinance shall be subject to a discount of 2% if paid during the month of October 2015 and shall become delinquent on December 31st, 2015, and thereafter there shall be added a penalty of 20% plus interest at the rate of 6% per annum until paid, plus the cost of collection, including without limitation court costs and attorney's fees. The ordinance next provides that the city has a lien on the property to secure the payment of those taxes. And finally, it provides that the taxes levied and collected pursuant to the terms of this ordinance shall be deposited in the general fund of the city of Erlanger and appropriated and used for the general operating expenses thereof. First reading, no vote is necessary.
All right, thank you. I ask that the city clerk please note in the minutes the first reading of this ordinance. Do I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Burke, second by Ms. Kyle. Meeting adjourned.
Going back to you.
Don't get mad.
$12.